concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, you guys? Welcome to Livestream. I'm your host, Joshua Bardwell, but you knew that already. It's Monday night. It's time to do some Q&A. Boom. I'm doing things a little bit differently tonight. You probably won't notice the difference, but maybe you will notice the difference. I've moved my stream deck from the right side of the desk to the left side. Duh, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? I kept banging it with my mouse. So then I had to have the stream deck over here, and I kept having to go like this to change scenes. And I was like, it's my desk. I can put it wherever I want. So now the stream deck's over here. Boom. No reaching, no stretching. Easy. Only problem is it was freaking me out to have OBS on that monitor, but stream deck over here. So now I got OBS over here. If I'm a little discombobulated when I reach for my to change the scenes, that's why. Welcome to Livestream. I am a left-handed person, it's true. The big risk, here's the big risk, and this is going to happen. Maybe this will be the stream where it happens, and you'll be glad you'll say, I was there the day that this happened. The big risk is that I got my drinks over here, because I am, as you said, a lefty. I'm going to reach for the stream deck. Bam! The drinks are going to go flying off the desk onto the carpet. It's going to be a mess. Speaking of which, what am I drinking today? Everybody always is very interested. We got a nice Cabernet. And for the right amount of money, I'll tell you whose Cabernet it is. Sponsor my stream. Whoever you are. Always drinking liquor on the stream and White Claws. We're going upscale tonight. We're going upscale. Classy as F. Thank you, Torktastic. That's exactly right. Nick Sebring. We got a lot of people in the chat today. Nick Sebring, Ghost Branch FPV, a good old Bubby FPV there. Heck yeah. Welcome to the stream, you guys. A lot of people were here for yesterday's stream where I sat down with some of the smartest guys in FPV to talk about motors. And if you missed that, you definitely should finish watching this whole stream because YouTube doesn't want you to leave right now. And then go back and watch that one. It's amazing. It's amazing. I learned a lot. Joe Reagan wants to know, is this, do left-handed people mouse with their right hand? No. I mean, some of them probably do. Most people don't. My thinking is that here's the thing. If you're left-handed and you go to piano lessons, do they put you on a left-handed piano? No. You're just going to learn to play the piano just like everybody else. If you're left-handed or right-handed, when you sit down at a computer, the mouse is on the right. And because you're going to, I mean, some people might not do that. I know that left-handed mice exist, but you just learn it how it is for most everybody. Bubby's going to be drinking a juice box, and that's good, Bubby, because Bubby's still a young ripper. Glad to see you alive and well, Dominic Clifton. Dominic Clifton in the Discord server tonight, not in the chat, and hopefully in bed per doctor's orders, right, Dominic? Dominic Clifton, by the way, for those of you in keeping up with his saga, he is out of the hospital, yay, and in bed. My understanding of what happened is this. I'm going to just give you a brief summary, and we're going to see how we feel about it. Dominic Clifton didn't feel well one day and went to the hospital. I assume he didn't feel well because most people don't just go to the hospital when they're feeling fine. He wasn't feeling well. He went to the hospital. They checked him out, and they said, "We're pretty sure your brain is bleeding." And he was like, that's bad, right? And they were like, "Oh, yeah, no, that's bad. That's bad. You got to stay in the hospital till we figure out what's going on with your brain." So Dominic said, "All right, well, what do I need to do?" And they scanned him. They gave him some scans. They gave him some tests. They were like, "Well, we think your brain's bleeding, but we really don't know more." So he stayed in the hospital for like 2-3 weeks. How long was it, Dominic? It was like 2 or 3 weeks. Because I saw the update go out on Facebook. And the whole time, they were just like, "Oh, you got to go do some more tests on you." I'm like, how big is a brain? It's bleeding. Where's it bleeding? Why is it bleeding? Look, there's only so much there. Figure it out. Scan it. Top to bottom. Anyway, 3 weeks later, they were like, "Well, we figured out why your brain's bleeding. Here's what we got for you. Go home. And rest. And hopefully it'll get better." I'm not making that up. They sent him home. And they said to stay in bed for a month and we'll check you out and we'll see if it got better. We think it's getting better on its own. Like, I could have done that already. Anyway, I hope you're getting better, Dominic. He says just under 4 weeks. He spent just under 4 weeks in the hospital, and he has a CSF leak. So whatever that is. I hope you're doing well, Dominic. And get some rest. Anyway, welcome to the stream, everybody. Here's what we got going on. RC Addict says, "American healthcare at its best." Be careful, RC Addict. Dominic Clifton does not live in America. He lives in Spain. So at least he's now not bankrupt from $500,000 in hospital bills. So there's that. But we're not here to talk about healthcare or any other sort of controversial topics that'll get me demonetized. No, sir. We're here to talk about your questions about FPV. FPV. And you're going to be asking your questions right here in the chat. Low CSF is said to give you the worst kind of headaches. I do think I remember reading that he had headaches, and that was one of the reasons he went to the doctor. I'll be answering your questions, and you can ask them here in the chat. They're going to go by so quickly that I will just realistically, I will not be able to answer all of them. If you want to make sure that I get to your question, hit the $sign right down here. That'll pull that question out into the super chats, and I'll make sure I get to your super chats. And of course, I'm going to be paying extra special attention to these beautiful sausages over here. These guys on my Discord server are my patrons, and they make it possible for me to play with quadcopters all day and still not live on the street. Unlike Bot Grinder, I don't have to decide. Bot Grinder doesn't live on the street. Yet. He doesn't live on the street yet. I don't know why I'm picking up Bot Grinder right now. Oh, anyway. I want to show you guys something I've been working on this week. I'm very proud of myself. Baba! I printed this. I didn't design this. I printed it. And I'm very proud of it. The quality of this print, people, you know, I've printed some shitty things in my life, and I don't show them to you because I'm embarrassed. But I use them. But this, no, this is going up. This is going up. Look at this. This is a hinge gate for a hinge for a multi-GP gate. The PVC goes in one end and it lets you fold it up. And the coolest thing about it is it prints already joined together. And after you take it off the printer, you just go, and it's all just ready to go. I'm super psyched. I've been printing these for like the last 5 days because they take like 18 hours to print. I could probably do it faster, but I'm getting good results, so I don't care. I'm super psyched about this. It's just fun to play with. My printer is the Sovol SV01 Archangel. Anyway, I wanted to show you that. One other thing I wanted to show you before I get to the questions. Look at this. Does this look familiar? Who made it? I don't know. Oscar Voneberger. It's on Thingiverse. If you search on Thingiverse for multi-GP, it's like the first result. And I could just freaking do it. It's like, I don't have time to look it up here on the stream. Your time is so valuable. Let's just show it right here. Who made it? Because the designer really deserves credit, don't they? Multi-GP. It is multi-GP hinge corner for F. It's by KW Machine. That's the one I'm printing. It's pretty freaking good. If you can print a 45-degree overhang, you can print this without supports, and most printers should be able to do a 45-degree overhang. No problem. Ghost Branch, it is TPU, not PETG. I printed it in TPU because my printer, I can't get PETG working. Well, I didn't try very hard. This printer just prints TPU. It prints it reasonably well, and I don't want to touch it because I don't want to, I like being able to rely on it. So I tried printing PETG a while back, and I had poor results. I didn't get it set up right, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go back to printing TPU. Now, it turns out that the people who use these say that TPU is actually the best material for them. They say that the PETG is stiff enough that it'll break eventually, but the TPU basically lasts forever. I know that so that's what I hear. Anyway, I know that PETG can work great. It just has, I haven't got the settings right. That's the bottom line. The other thing I want to show you guys before I start taking questions is I do have multiple printers, Kyle K. I have two printers right now. One is an Ender 3 and one is a Sovol SV01. The Ender is mostly prints PLA, but this here, what do you think, what's that look like to you? It's a toothpick, right? Obviously, it's a toothpick. But what video system is in there? You probably can't tell because my camera is not focused at this distance. This is a Sharkbite toothpick from Mr. Nate Payne. Nate Payne. Mr. Shutterbug on YouTube. He is an amazing designer and builder of micro quadcopters. He's the kind of guy who will use enamel wire instead of silicon wire because he wants to save a couple grams of insulation. And he came up with this HZ toothpick that he released a video about 1 week ago. And he was nice enough to send it to me to try out. So I will be working on a video about this coming up soon. But I wanted to put that out there because some people feel like I am biased against Sharkbite and kind of don't want to have anything to do with it. And that's not true. It's not entirely untrue. But it's not entirely true. And I'm happy to be that he was able to send that to me. So, here we go. And I saw a question on Discord from Kenny Smooth X. Kenny's going to start us off today. Do you recommend Tracer or Crossfire for a new FPV freestyle pilot? Yes. The computer scientists out there are cracking up right now. Because an or and exclusive or are different. Am I right? So it could be either or both and still be true. Here's the thing. I made a video breaking down the major control protocols and the reason someone might or might not choose one or the others of them. The thing is, Tracer, Crossfire, Ghost, and yes, Express LRS are all amazing in their own way and are more than most people need. Any one of them is more than most people need. So you can sort of try and split hairs as to which one's the best, but you really can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong. If you've decided that Tracer and Crossfire are the ones you're most concerned about, and you're not going to look at Ghost or Express LRS, then I would probably steer a new pilot towards Crossfire, but it would be like a 60-40 split at best. Like, Crossfire would just have the edge for me. And the reason is that a new pilot is probably not going to really notice the 6 millisecond or whatever latency instead of the 4 millisecond latency of Crossfire versus Tracer. And Crossfire is more mature. It's going to have better range. Some people who fly Tracer, even on ludicrous mode, some people say, oh, yeah, I had a failsafe this one time. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's brand new and they're still shaking out some of the bugs. Maybe it's because there was 2.4 gigahertz interference. I don't know. But I feel like for a beginner, I would steer you towards Crossfire over Tracer, but not by a large margin. I got to say, Ghost is pretty compelling. The thing that Ghost brings to the table is that it can kind of do it all. You can put Ghost into a pure race mode where it's doing 250 hertz, just like Tracer. Ghost even has, I'm not sure if it's released or if it's in beta, but they even have a mode where they literally do the same as Tracer using the FLRC modulation. You can put Ghost, if you're like getting fail safes or something, you don't have enough range, you can put Ghost into normal mode where it gets much longer range at larger latency. And I feel like that flexibility of Ghost is overlooked by a lot of people, and maybe you don't care, but I feel like it deserves to be called out. The other thing is, when I went to the race this last weekend, a lot of the racers had just finished the 12 Hours of Mayhem team race, where they literally flew for like, I think it was 12 flight hours. It took them like 16 hours to finish the race because of like pit stops or timeouts or something. And these guys had said that Ghost is amazing for team racing. There are features with Ghost where you can plug in multiple quads, but only one of them will power up video and control. And it lets you have your quad ready to go if you're team racing, so you can put new quads in the air more efficiently. Who cares, right? Most people aren't team racing. The other thing with Ghost is that it makes it very easy if you've got a Tramp telemetry video transmitter. It makes it very easy to preset your video settings before you power up your quad. You can do it on the Ghost module. So there's some cool stuff out there. There's some cool stuff out there. TrokelRC says Ghost is a bad decision right now during the parts shortage. With Crossfire, you at least have a chance to get some stuff. It's a good point. The reason I say Crossfire is maybe the best sort of all-around safe decision is just that there's so much Crossfire gear out there. There's so many Crossfire users. You're just basically going to probably be doing okay one way or the other. Anyway. There you go. There's the first question. We got a couple of super chats that I'm going to get while I look for another question going by. Michael Hill, thank you for a $5 super chat. I won't get to watch live tonight. I got to work, but I will watch it tomorrow. Don E, thank you for a $2 super chat. No question, just a $2 super chat. And Michael Nichevsky, do you think DJI are not allowing their goggles to be activated so people will buy the FPV combo instead? Michael, I think that, I mean, who knows? It seems like a case, you know, what's the saying? Never attribute to malice what could be attributed to stupidity. It seems like it's most likely that there's just been a screw up, that they can't get their stuff together. But who knows? Why would they intentionally prevent a customer from using a product that the customer bought? I don't know. I certainly would expect that if there's limited stock, DJI will be pushing those goggles into the combo chain. Like, I think we will see DJI FPV combos coming into stock more frequently than individual goggles. Because why would they sell you a goggle when they could sell you a $1,200 whatever drone? But I couldn't say that they were doing it like on purpose. I don't know why. The real thing though is, why haven't they fixed it? Why can people still not activate the goggles under certain Not everybody. Most people are fine. Why are some people still unable to activate the goggles? I have no idea. Like, solve it. It's a really big deal that some people out there have paid $700, $650, whatever, $550 for a set of goggles, and they can't freaking use them. It's so stupid. Doesn't make any sense. Can you explain smart audio? Says Carlos Diaz Terran. Smart audio. The first thing to explain about smart audio is it doesn't have anything to do with audio, hence the name. Smart audio is a way to let the flight controller remote control the video transmitter. So the flight controller can tell the video transmitter what band and channel and output power it wants it to be on, as well as a few other little settings that you can change. And what that means is that, remember dip switches, kids? Kids don't remember. Bubby. Probably Bubby. I pick on Bubby because he's prominent and young. Probably never worked with a video transmitter with dip switches. They had these little dip switches you had to flip to change your band and your channel. What a pain in the ass. Then we had buttons. Oh, that was a big step up. But then smart audio came along, and you could just go into your on-screen display in your goggles and change your band, your channel, your output power, and it was so much nicer. You didn't have to touch your quad. So that's what smart audio is. Why do they call it smart audio? Well, the video transmitter originally didn't have a data line, but it turned out that the audio line on the TBS Unify was also a data line. So they could repurpose the audio line to be a UART communication to the flight controller, and so they called it smart audio. Nowadays, it's just a data line. It's not really. They still call it smart audio, though. Bubby's Fat Shark module had dip switches. Okay. Sorry, Bubby. I didn't mean like that you had never used a dip switch in your life. But video transmitters with dip switches have been out of style for a long freaking time. So I'm guessing you never had a video transmitter with dip switches, but I could be wrong. Blue Eye Visuals asks, why can't I get my iFlight Force video transmitter to run a higher power than 25 milliwatts with Betaflight or a manual button push? Blue Eye Visuals, if you're using smart audio and the VTX table is messed up, then the video transmitter will lock itself at the lowest output power that it supports. And for a lot of video transmitters, that's going to be 25 milliwatts. Some of them would do pit mode, but most of them will do 25 milliwatts. So in order to test whether this is affecting you, go to your ports tab and change the UART that's set to smart audio. Turn that off. Set that to disabled. And then suddenly the video transmitter will go above 25 milliwatts. And then you know that it's smart audio that's screwing you up, and you got to go fix your VTX table. Why can't you override that with the button? When a flight controller is connected to a VTX with smart audio, typically the button is disabled and the flight controller just overrides everything. Your mom's a dip. You're a dip switch. Slat FPV is in the chat. Slat FPV is putting out some good content. I don't know why, Slat, but YouTube decided I needed to see your video. Hey guys, I'm gonna show this video. Say, Slat, don't copy strike me. No, he wouldn't do that. Slat FPV. Look, see, I'm not even making this up. Look, I legit watched this video. You see the red? That's how far I watched. Okay, I didn't finish the video. Slat, sorry. Check this out. Check this little move out. He opens strong. Look at this. Ready? Whoop. Oh. Oh, what? Shut up. Shut up. You want to see it again? You guys want to see it again? Here we go. Oh, sick. Sick, sick. Very nice. That's some good stuff right there. Glad you're here. That's pretty nice. That's the kind of thing. That was not the first time he flew that line. If that was the first time he flew that line, I'm really impressed. But that was a good line. Let's see here. DMOC86 wants to know, I broke the UFL connector on a Cadix Vista. Is it replaceable? DMOC, if you have the soldering skills, you could replace it, but chances are that you ripped off a pad. If you ripped off a pad, then it's not replaceable. However, you should just contact DJI support. They may warranty it. You never know. And if they don't warranty it, they'll like charge you some money and replace it, but it'll be cheaper than a whole new Vista. He said first try. If that was the first try for that line, I'm pretty impressed. That's pretty impressive. It's just like, it's one of those situations where you just like, wall is in front of you and you just keep turning and crossing your fingers and hope you get out. Yeah. Now, I did see something in his video. Hang on. He's got some good flow. Where's the landing? Oh, yeah. No, you guys can't hear the music. There it is. Okay, hang on. Hang on. Okay, I got to make sure I'm not broadcasting the music because I don't want to get a copyright. No copyright intended. That's all you got to say, right? Now, hang on. I did notice something. Oh, here we go again. Oh, this must be the first time. That wasn't as clean. Okay, hang on. Here we go. Right here. Oh, no, not there. There it is. This is how you can tell if somebody's using Hypersmooth, if you didn't already know this trick. And Slat, it's nothing wrong with using Hypersmooth, but this is how you can tell. Watch how the camera moves slightly right after the quad flips over. Right? There. That's Hypersmooth's trying to react to the motion. So if you're ever wondering if a pilot uses Hypersmooth, wait till after they land. Oh, right here you can see it too. Yeah, this is when I first noticed it. Here we go. He comes in. He does a little landing. Now watch right after he lands. Watch it move. Right here and there. Do you see that little move downward? That's Hypersmooth. Now, the flip side of that is if you're a pilot who uses Hypersmooth and you don't want people to know you're using Hypersmooth, well, I mean, like if you're paying attention, you can just see it in the way the quad is flying. But if you really want to hide it, you can't ever show your landing or a crash. You got that drib Hypersmooth, no edges, no corners kind of a thing. It's a different look. Nothing wrong with Hypersmooth, just a different look. But sometimes people wonder. You want to know who doesn't use Hypersmooth? All right, this is not community spotlight. I'm going to go back to answering questions. But you know who doesn't use Hypersmooth? Farouk FPV, you son of a... Farouk FPV, I'm more excited about this style of freestyle. When was the last time we got a new style of freestyle? Juicy style, when Johnny kind of helped popular. Did Johnny create Juicy? He wasn't the only one doing Juicy, but I think Johnny's, we think of Juicy, you think Johnny. And then what? Everybody's just doing the same shit over and over again, right? But now there's this style that guys like Farouk have been, I don't know who invented it. Was it Farouk? Was it somebody else? I haven't figured it out yet. But check this out. This is ridiculous. And they call it Spang. I'm not going to play the music because I don't want to get copyright. Just watch. It's freaking ridiculous. Boom, bing, bang, bong. I'm just going to do the sounds. Ba-ding, zwoop, zoo, zwoop, that, whoop, yum. It's freaking ridiculous. Oh, freaking ridiculous. Such control. What the hell? I feel like Johnny came before Willie, but I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, such. And I watched this video and I thought, this guy's not using Hypersmooth. You couldn't do these just stop, go, stop. Hypersmooth would round it off. It wouldn't work. It's unreal control. Just unreal control of the quad. Such control. Can't believe it. Anyway. You can go check out Farouk FPV if you want to see more of that. I really like this style. I like this style. It's a little hard to watch. It's not actually super enjoyable to watch. It's a little bit like there's these styles of like rock and roll music that are just hyper technical, kind of music for musicians. They're almost like hard to listen to. But then if you are a musician, you're like, oh wow, that guy's really good. And that's how Spang feels to me. Yeah. All right. Let's get back to the questions. Who knows? T. Jenga says, does he use high I term to be so sharp? Who knows, man? Is he using 3D mode? No. Genix FPV. That's what's so impressive. Everything, I would assume he's not. All of those tricks can be done without 3D mode. He's just got the grasp of the physics, and that's why it's so damn impressive. Abraham says Johnny and Willie both came up together with Juicy Style. They're homies. Fair enough. Bubby says the Spangers use Falco X. I don't believe the tuning is. I mean, I guarantee you could give one of these guys a Betaflight quad and he'd basically do the same thing. He uses skill. Does he use Falco X? No, he uses skill you don't have. Yeah, it's the skill. Ryzix in the Discord wants to know what could cause D-term spikes. I'm getting a weird sound from my quad while increasing throttle, almost as if a motor's having a hiccup when ramping up the throttle. It happens near low throttle. Not sure if these are micro fail-safes. No, I don't think that's it. If you hear the motors shuddering like that, it may be a gyro issue. Now, if you are using variable PWM frequency, that's a new feature. It does cause problems for some people. And so you may want to try turning that off. But my guess, Ryzix, is it's a gyro issue. And the D term is spiking because the gyro spiked. So then what to do about it? Well, you can turn the filtering. If you've got the filter sliders pushed to the right, you can move them back to the left. If you're having gyro issues, additional filtering will often help sort it out. However, and maybe that's fine. Maybe you just fly like that. I've had quads like the Z's F7, Z-E-E-Z. I had the 20 millimeter Z's flight controller in one of my quads. And when I went to fly it, the first thing I did is I pushed the filter sliders to 1.5, which is just what I do on like all my quads. And it like tried to fly to the moon. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? Because if one of you guys built the quad and you did a crappy job of it, right, of course you wouldn't be able to put the filter sliders on 1.5. But, like, that's not my first time on the build bench. I can always put the filter sliders on 1.5. But that flight controller wouldn't do it. I had to push it back down. I was like, well, this gyro's got noise issues. If you've got your filter sliders over at 1.5 or 1.7 or 2.0 and you're getting gyro twitches, move them back down. If you have to go below 1.0 though, like, to me, that says you got a problem with your flight controller or something. Now, like there have been quads where I put the filter sliders down at 0.8 and it flew and I was just like, screw it, I'm just going to fly. But personally, I'm not happy about that. Max Koning wants to know how I hang the quads on my wall. M3 command, what is it? Command hooks? What are they called? What's the company? Command hooks. Just command. 3M. That's it. 3M command hooks is what I use. I think I use the large. No, the medium. Don't use the small. It's the medium. And a rubber band. I use a rubber band around the arm of the quad. Some people will take two of these command hooks and put them side by side and hang the quad from it. I use one and a rubber band. That's how I do it. Purely Abrasive FPV wants to know where the best place to get small silicone multicolor wires to redo quad wiring. Purely Abrasive, if you're in the USA, again, I like Amazon for that. You can get, like, here's an 18 AWG wire kit in colors. Here's a 22 AWG kit. I think that Mr. Steele, doesn't Ethics have a wire kit? The Ethics Quad Builder Cable Set. Now, this one is nice because it only includes the sizes you're actually going to freaking use. It doesn't include 5 different colors of 22 gauge. I mean, maybe you want 5 different colors of 22 gauge, but this one's nice. It comes with 14 gauge and 14 gauge for your battery, 18 gauge for your motors, and 24 gauge for your signal wires, and that's the end of it. Of course, you only have two colors, so your call. Some people would prefer different colored signal wires. You want orange and white or green or whatever, then you can get an assortment. But there you go. Ryzik says the gyro doesn't show a spike in the black box. We'd have to see the black box, Ryzik. Can you upload it? If you've gotten a D-term spike, I'm like really sure you're getting a gyro spike. But we could take a look and see. UAV Tech is here. Maybe he'd look it over with us. You never know. Prairie Pilot says, I get an RSSI error when I'm trying to use long range with Ghost. Any ideas? Prairie, where are you getting the RSSI error? Some of the Ghost protocols, like if you have the Ghost module outputting S-Bus, it won't report RSSI, so it could be that you're just not reporting it. The thing is, Ryzik, the PID terms always respond to the gyro and the set point. So if one of the PID terms spiked, either the gyro spiked or the set point spiked. The set point changes when you move your sticks. The gyro changes when the quad moved. One of those two things had to change in order for the D term to spike. Big Data Pimp wants to know if I can put a little heat on Pyrodrone for their backpack. Like, I mean, there's no point in me putting heat on them. I'm sure they're working as hard as they can to get the pack. I would love to. I'd love to get it. I'm still using that Goldline pack. I have not switched back to my Torval. I'm not saying that, like, if I had to pick one for the rest of my life, that it would be the Goldline. But I am saying I kept using the Goldline after I published the review, and that's saying something. But I'm really looking forward to the Pyrodrome pack, that's for sure. Dave Irish says we will have the Goldline packs soon at Full Send FPV. I hope you mean the Goldline backpack, which seems to be decent, because Goldline batteries have been getting some heat lately. Wrong Way FPV says backpacks are on the way to Pyro. They cleared customs last week. UAV Tech wants to know, are you doing any battery testing on those Goldline batteries? UAV Tech, I have tested some Goldline batteries, and I got results similar to what Cyclone FPV said. Some of the packs were pretty decent. A couple of the packs were really weirdly off, and we had been talking about it, and I had not published those results yet at the time that Cyclone FPV came out. Yeah. How many backpacks does one man need? Ask my wife, am I right? Okay, sorry. It's cheap. It's a cheap joke. Ryan Quellet, thank you for a $5 super chat. Dave Eilrich. Ryan Quellet, wait, is he the guy? Is he the guy? Hang on. Oh, well, that's clearly him. It's the same user pick anyway. Yeah, that's the Sharkbite guy. Ryan Quellet leaving me $5 because I have a Sharkbite quad in my desk. No, I'm just teasing. Oh, Dave Eilrich. Thank you for a $5 super chat. I'm getting a runaway error after a low throttle hover. Flight controller, motors, mapping, direction, all good. The fact, Dave, the fact that you can hover the quad at all means that the board alignment, the motors, the motor direction all works. The quad will not hover if you've got one of those things wrong. So you've got something else wrong. Can motors pulling too many amps cause a runaway? So Dave, what causes a runaway is that the quadcopter is moving in a way that the PID controller can't counteract. So if you're hovering and like one arm begins to dip for some reason, the PID controller will speed up that motor and bring that arm back up again. But if the arm begins to dip and the PID controller tries to speed the motor up and the arm just keeps dipping, that's when a runaway happens. So if you're in a hover and then suddenly runaway, it probably means one of your motors or your props or your ESC failed. And when the quad does its little death roll, the PID controller goes, I can't stop this. And it gives a runaway. As soon as you throttle up, it runaways. Yeah, so probably what's happening here is you have a bad motor or a bad ESC. Or in theory, it could be a loose prop, but I doubt that's what it is. And so when you're hovering, it's fine. But as soon as you raise the throttle, then it's like the motor stutters and falls out. So what you should do is you should look at which direction the quad falls. Does the quad always fall to the front left, to the front left, to the front left? That means the front left motor is the one that's having the problem. If it falls a random direction every time, that's could be the ESC. But I'm going to guess that as you raise the throttle, it consistently falls towards the same motor. Another little tip for you guys is when you have a bad motor or ESC, the quad will always fall to the diagonal, because assuming an X layout, it will fall toward the diagonal because it will fall toward the bad motor or ESC. If you have a quad and it's death rolling and it definitely rolls to the side or to the front, that's a flight controller related problem where the flight controller is flipping out or something. An ESC or motor related problem will basically always cause a diagonal dip or fall. Let's see here. Lime says that they are trying to troubleshoot streaks and ghosts from the Runcam Phoenix 2. Let's see here. Let's take a look at this video and see what we got. Streaks and ghosts from the Runcam Phoenix 2. I wonder if it'll be obvious when it happens. Is it happening now? Oh, I see it. Yeah, look right here. You see the ghosting right there? Is anything else ghosting, or is it just that one thing? Is it just that one thing that's ghosting? No, it's everything. Yikes. That's pretty freaking weird. Can you test another camera? Can you test another camera? I just installed a 12-volt Beck to power my VTX and a Runcam Phoenix 2, and now I have the smearing, streaking, ghosting problem. I mean, it started happening when you installed the Beck. The first thing I would do would be to try to go to a different power source. Crunk says it's a camera setting. Stephen Gibbs says it's noise reduction, DNR. But the thing is, he says this just started happening after powering the camera from a Beck. I don't see how that could cause that. I don't see how that could cause that. Yeah. Henry Knox, Skadoosh is right. Skadoosh is right, man. The quad will not hover if the motor direction is incorrect. Henry Knox says that's BS. I had my motors reversed, tabbed the wrong direction. The quad flew a foot in the air and then shut down. Wait, am I following the conversation right? If the motor reversed setting is wrong, the quad will not hover. It will fly straight up in the air and keep flying straight up until you disarm. What's happening is that the quad is trying to yaw, and it's going back and forth on the yaw axis until it just flies straight up in the air. It just causes it to gain altitude constantly. But it won't hover. If the quad hovers at all, exactly, Skadoosh, it jumped up in the air, but it didn't hover. It didn't fly. If the quad hovers at all, you know your motor direction is right, your board alignment is right, and all that stuff. It flies up and then shut off. Yeah, I know, Henry. It didn't hover, though, did it? It didn't hover. It popped up in the air, freaked out, and shut off. It's not the same thing. I'm going back to the live stream chat. Lime says it doesn't do it with my Owl 2 camera, so you know it's not your goggles. Multiple people are saying it might be digital noise reduction. Lime says 10 out of 10, it was noise reduction. Problem gone. There you go. But why did it, Lime, why did it start doing it when you installed the regulator? That's the question. I don't know, but I'm glad you solved it. Prairie Pilot says Ghost RSSI error pops up on the bottom of my OSD. It says RSSI error. If you're using SRXL2 Prairie Pilot, you need to go into the receiver tab and set your receiver RSSI channel to whichever, I think it's aux 12, but I'm not 100% sure. The Ghost receiver will be outputting RSSI as one of the aux channels, and you need to set that in your receiver tab, whichever aux channel Ghost is outputting. Shadowwalker says the Beck has switching noise, which was causing noise in the analog image, which then was triggering noise reduction. I mean, that's as good a story as anything. That's as good a story as anything, Shadowwalker. I'd buy it. The special drink for today, Dave, is water and a delicious Cabernet. Genix FPV wants to know what I think of the Roma 5 plug and play. Genix, I reviewed it on my channel and I liked it a lot. The Roma has had some durability issues with the arms. I'm happy to say Diatone has released an updated arm design that they're going to be including. You can buy it aftermarket now, but if you break in arms on your Diatone Roma 5, there's going to be a slightly updated, thicker arm you can get from Diatone. Not thicker. They changed, it's sort of thicker near the base in the place that it's breaking. It's not like a thicker arm like 5mm to 6mm. Let's see here. Zachary Dale, thank you for a $20 super chat. What do I need to do to get KISS OSD on DJI using a Wolf 3 PDB? Okay, Zachary, the first thing you do is you don't need the Wolf 3 PDB. The Wolf 3 PDB with the OSD built in, that's only for analog cameras. Like, I don't know, do you still need the PDB? Maybe, but you don't need the OSD. Chat, help me out with this. I know that FetTech supports Betaflight OSD, but you used to have to like be a member of Felix's Patreon to get the custom firmware on KISS that lets you do DJI OSD on KISS. Is that still true? What are the details there? I'm not 100% sure. If you have FetTech, you're good to go, though. No, DMOC86 says KISS now has full OSD. So does Crunked. Okay, so you do. So basically, you just turn it on. You just connect the TX and RX lines from the DJI Air Unit or Vista to a UART on your flight controller, and you just turn it on in the. Where do you turn it on? It's in the Advanced Special Functions tab. Granola FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. On my QX7 ACCST with OpenTX 2311, my SPI tiny whoops are bound but won't connect unless I switch to a different model and then switch back. No, I have no idea, Granola. I have never heard of that. I've never heard of that. I really have literally never heard of that. I have no idea. You say you're running the TBS build of OpenTX? I mean, maybe try flashing a regular build. I mean, I don't see why it would cause that. But give it a try. I don't know. I've never seen that, and I have no idea why you'd have to do that. So I'm afraid I'm not going to be very much help there. Eric LaPlante, thank you for a $5 super chat. Any plans on producing additional iNav content? No specific plans at this time. I'm glad to have done an iNav build. Obviously, my focus, the place where I have the most fun is in freestyle and racing drones. So that's just obviously, you know, Betaflight, Emu Flight, Falco X. That's really where I'm going to be. Zachary Dale, thank you for a $5 super chat. The chat helped me out. They were setting the DJI goggles to custom. Oh, that's the issue, Zach. You have to have, you have to have that set to custom in the DJI goggles. Awesome. Thank you, chat, for that. I'll be distributing this $5 to all 547 of you guys who are watching right now. You'll each get a little less than a penny. I'll be sending it to you in Dogecoin. Granola adds to the question about SPI receivers. It only happens for models that use the built-in receiver. The models that use Crossfire or Tracer work normally. And I didn't used to have this issue. It only popped up recently. The whoops are two different models in OpenTX and two different whoop FCs. They're both running Emu Flight, but the Emu guys aren't aware of any issues. I'm running the TBS Nightly OpenTX to be able to use Crossfire Shot, but I don't think it started when I loaded the OpenTX Nightly. None of the other models do it. It has to be related to the way... I mean, it could be Emu Flight, because on those SPI receivers, the flight controller is controlling the receiver. Now, chances are that Emu Flight didn't change anything about the SPI code, but it would be at least worth a test to try flashing them to Betaflight and see if it still does it. You just got to start doing process of elimination here. Flash Betaflight, flash a different version of OpenTX, and you just got to try different things until you figure out which one is causing it. Sam Burns FPV wants to know, did they get the DJI Goggle V2 issues with binding to Caddx Vista fixed? Sam Burns, there is no issue with binding to Caddx Vista on the Goggle V2. There isn't an issue. The issue is whether you can get the goggle activated and whether you can get it switched over to the DJI FPV Air Unit Vista mode instead of the FPV drone mode. So in that sense, you could argue that there is an issue, but some people are out there saying that the DJI Goggles V2 are not compatible with the Caddx Vista and the Air Unit. That is not true. They are compatible. There's just a bug that causes some of them to not work. Bubby, you're wrong. No disrespect. Bubby says, I don't like the Vista. You're wrong. The Vista is the one. That's the one. The Air Unit is heavy. It only has slightly better range due to its dual antennas. It has an SD card for recording DVR, but you get the SD card slow error all the time, so that doesn't really work. There is very little reason, in my opinion, to pay the weight penalty and the size penalty of a full-size Air Unit. Kids these days. I'm just picking on you. This is really why we all 3D print, right? Just so. It's not scientific. I fail-safed my Vista quad when I didn't fail-safe my air unit quad. That's why I don't like Vista. I mean, yeah, maybe. The air unit does have slightly better range. That's true. I mean, was it repeatable or was it just bad luck? That's the thing. For 7-inch, do you think the air unit says RC Ritter? Yeah, okay. By the time you're up to a 7-inch quad, the weight penalty doesn't matter. You may as well. Torque-tastic says, you missed my super chats, homie. I didn't miss it, Torque. I just haven't got to it yet. You're literally the most recent super chat, and it came in like... When did it come in? How long ago? It came in like... it doesn't have a freaking date on it. You're like 3 minutes away. I'll get to it, dude. Don't worry about it. Thank you very much, Archangel, for sharing that that STL. That's why we all 3D print, just so we can print things to fiddle with. Oh, yeah. Torque-tastic, thank you for a $5 super chat. 6-inch or 7-inch for long-range cinematic and chasing. Pros and cons. I would go 7-inch. Or higher, as much as 9-inch. The thing is, with 6-inch, the reason you would go with 6-inch is because you want that agility. The 7-inch is going to be just a little bit less snappy and a little bit less agile. But for cinematic and chasing, you don't need that. For cinematic and chasing, you don't want that. You want the stability of a larger quad. Now, as you get up to a certain size, you can start to get vibration issues. And of course, you get size and cost issues. But I think 7-inch is the place to be. For long range, cinematic, chasing, definitely 7-inch. And if you want freestyle, go 5-inch, right? 6-inch is in a little bit of a weird spot. There's not as compelling an argument for it in some ways. I mean, that's why you don't... Like, why don't you see a whole bunch of people flying 6-inch? Because, like, you may as well kind of go down to 5-inch and get the agility. Or you may as well kind of go up to 7-inch and get the additional efficiency. Excuse me. Quad Doc, if I break this because I'm fiddling with it, then it is not worthy of being used on a multi-GP gate, right? But no, these things are pretty freaking... Oh, I broke it. No, they're pretty freaking robust. It should not really be breakable by me fiddling with it with my hands. Zachary Dale, got you. Zipperlips FPV, thank you for a $10 super chat. There is a runaway parameter where if you don't hit a certain throttle percent within a preset time, it disarms and says runaway. No. No. Hang on. No. That can't be right. UAV Tech, are you here? Is that right? You're telling me that if I arm, I raise the throttle to, let's say, 15%, and let's say my quad hovers at 15%, and then I just hover there, at some point, it'll disarm and say run away and drop me out of the air. No. No. Surely not. Please tell me that's not true. Let's say I've got a super powerful quad that hovers at 10% throttle. I don't know. And I take off and I'm just cruising around a field at 10 or 11% throttle. You're telling me it's going to just disarm and fall out of the air? There's got to be more to this story. UAV Tech, straighten us out here. Oscar Voneberger says, why are racers not using prop protectors anymore like Tiny Whoops? Because on the larger quads, they would just explode. It's weight for no purpose. Hectectica, thanks for a $5 super chat. 5-inch with 2207.5 motors. Stutters on throttle up, but it doesn't happen consistently. Quad flies fine. What do I do to stop the stutter? Hectectica, maybe your idle speed is too low. Raise your idle speed. That's what I would do next. is that TPU print for the gates, does it make it easier than pulling the PVC out of the couplers? Asks Bobby Bags. Bobby, I do feel like this grips a little looser than the PVC. I feel like it's easier to work it out. PVC, once it's in there real freaking good. But I don't, they don't like fall out. It's almost better in both ways, because the sort of grippy surface of the TPU seems to do a better job of actually just keeping them from falling out. Like PVC, if you don't jam it all the way in, it'll come loose and fall out. And then once you jam PVC all the way in, it just is such a pain in the ass to get out. But with this TPU, it feels like there's more of a middle ground where it's grippy enough that it doesn't fall out during normal handling. But if you want to remove it, you can get it out. Maybe it's because it's more flexible. So when you start wiggling it, it's easier to work it out. I don't know. Pretty good, though. They're pretty good. This is Sane Smart TPU. I just bought a new spool because I'm using my last spool printing all these. I've been printing these for a minute or two for the last couple days. The stuff that I'm making is, hang on, I'll tell you exactly which one it is. This is the exact stuff that I bought. Sane Smart TPU. Where's the shore hardness? 95A shore hardness. So that's what I'm using. And some people say that some people feel like more rigid is better for these couplers. In fact, the Thingiverse page suggests you print it in PLA, not TPU. He says if you print it in TPU, you print it at 100% infill. Everybody I've talked to who actually uses these disagrees. Number one, they say print it in TPU because the TPU is way more durable. PLA will shatter, even PETG they said would shatter. Whereas TPU, they said basically lasts forever. And the other thing is the guys I know who use these on a daily basis, they say you do not need 100% infill. The 40 to 50, maybe 60% infill is more than sufficient. The other thing I did was I increased the number of walls to 4 walls. And other people have said that that's a good thing to do for a part like this, because having additional walls around the perimeter makes it sort of more rigid in a way that you would have to add a lot of infill to get that rigidity any other way. So those are some things to think about if you go to print this. What printer? Sovol SV01. You do not, Andrew Pulsifer, you do not absolutely need a direct drive extruder to print TPU. You absolutely can print TPU on like a Bowden extruder. I've printed TPU on my Ender 3. You have to go slower, but you totally can do it. Yeah, one guy, and I haven't tried this, but one guy on my Facebook thread said print this with like 5 walls and then 20% infill, and it goes faster and works better than printing it with like 50% infill. But I'm printing it with 50% infill and 4 walls, and it takes like 17 hours to print. But there you go. UAV Tech, I know. Thank you for coming back to that question about anti-TAS, about runaway. I know that anti-TAS will not turn off unless you're above a throttle threshold for a certain amount of time. But the quad will not just disarm itself if you fail to go above that threshold. Runaway anti-TAS will stay enabled, and potentially you'll get a runaway if something happens to the quad. But it doesn't just disarm itself. Yeah, that's the confusion. Anti-TAS will only disarm the quad if something happens to cause the quad to move in an unpredicted way. Big Data Pimp says 10-inch can't be beat for chasing. Big Data Pimp, I think so. Like, I have an invitation in the next couple months to go to a racetrack and chase some dirt cars, which is pretty interesting to me. But I immediately knew that 5-inch would be completely inadequate. 5-inch quads can go 80 miles an hour easily for 3 minutes, 5 minutes. But if you want the ability to chase a car at 60 or 70 miles an hour for any extended length of time, you're not going to do it on 5-inch. And I thought like an ultra powerful 9 or 10-inch quad with a top speed in the 80 or 90 mile an hour range, but maybe a flight time in the 7 to 10 minutes, that would be pretty freaking cool for chasing. Ryzex has given us this black box log we were talking about. What's the timestamp, Ryzex, where the thing happens? Tell us the timestamp, please. Shady says, any tips on printing? This is now a 3D printing live stream. I know like 2 things about 3D printing. I'm not an expert at it, but I'll talk about it a little bit. Shady wants to know any tips on printing very small items. I ended up with a melted blob. Certainly, Shady, you could go to a smaller nozzle. If you're really trying to get fine detail, you could decrease your layer height, which will get you more detail in the Z-axis. You could, yeah, those are some things you can do. Zipperlips says, you're wrong, Joshua. This is a problem I had. Changing the throttle percent and timer fixed it. Zipperlips, the quad will not spontaneously disarm unless the PID error gets large enough to trigger the runaway protection. So as long as the quad is just hovering, you're fine. As soon as you make a sharp stick move, now potentially the PID error will get big enough to trigger the runaway. Or if the quad taps an object. Like I had a situation once where I took off at low throttle and I was flying and I hit a tree branch and the quad disarmed and fell out of the air because my throttle had not exceeded that threshold. But runaway will not disarm the quad arbitrarily simply because the throttle has failed to go above the threshold. The PID error has to get high enough that it triggers the runaway protection. Tell me I'm right, UAV Tech. Okay. Shacklebuckle, thank you for a $5 super chat. Thoughts on the ImmersionRC Ghost Hybrid combo? Yes, indeed. Let's talk about that. The Ghost Hybrid is a new product. No, not an e-bike. Give me a break. The Ghost Hybrid is a new product that combines on a single 20mm board a ImmersionRC Ghost receiver and a Tramp video transmitter. Now, if you're not flying analog, you don't care about this. But if you are flying analog, this could be pretty freaking exciting. Now, my first thought, can I get a picture of the actual board? Let me get a, that's like a 3D render. Let's get a picture of the actual board, shall we? Here it is from GetFPV. Well, that's the backside. That's not that interesting. Here's the front. Oh, there we go. There's all them components. Now, this is pretty exciting for a couple of reasons. You could imagine this going in the back of a frame where you would normally mount the video transmitter, and instead you've got the video transmitter and the receiver all in one. That's pretty cool. But a lot of racers are also using this on top of a 20mm build. And if you have room for a 3-high stack, this is one of the most compact and easiest to build. Video transmitter, receiver, all ready to go. Just one plug for everything. The other thing is that this automatically integrates the ImmersionRC Ghost and Tramp telemetry functions. So you can go into your Ghost module and you can change your video transmitter settings before you power up. And it'll just automatically go to the correct channel as soon as you plug in. And in addition, now let's think about this. Let's say you're at a race, because the racers care a lot about frequency management. Let's say you're at a race and you're Alex Vanover, so you've got 10 quads with you. And the race director says you're going to be on race 7. Now you got to change all your quads to race 7 as you power them up. But with this ghost thing, you can go into your ghost module. You can set it to race 7, and if you set, this is optional, it doesn't have to be this way, but you can set it so each of your quads, as soon as they power up, they just go to race 7 automatically. It's pretty freaking slick. That's true for the Ghost Hybrid. It's also true if you're just using any other Tramp video transmitter, but the Ghost Hybrid makes it sort of easy because it's all ready to go. So that's pretty slick. This was one of the things, like ImmersionRC Ghost versus Crossfire versus Tracer. When I saw that you could go into your Ghost module, set your video transmitter channel and power, and then every quad you plug in from here on out automatically goes to that channel, and you don't have to think, did I remember to change this quad's channel? Am I going to power up on the wrong channel? You just know that they're all going to go to that channel. I was like, oh, they're onto something over there. Anyway, that's pretty cool. Thank you, Shacklebuckle, for the super chat. Ben T, thanks for a $10 super chat. I have the Ender 5 Pro, and it prints TPU beautifully. Yeah, it can totally do it. Quad Doc says, on the downside, when you blow your VTX, you also have no receiver. That's true. Anytime you integrate electronics, you take the risk that when you blow one thing, you blow the other thing. To be fair, the hybrid has a lot of protection to prevent that. For example, it has over voltage protection. It's made to be powered from 5 volts, but it's protected against, I think it's up to 30 volts, maybe more. If you power it if you accidentally feed it 12 volts, it just goes, nah, and it doesn't work, but it doesn't blow up either. So hopefully it would be pretty reliable. Can TBS do that? I know. So hang on. I know that with TBS Crossfire and Unify, you can go into the Crossfire system and change the Unify settings. But correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you will. With the Crossfire system, you change those settings in the receiver, and then the next quad you power up has whatever the settings it was on the last time you used it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Crossfire has the ability to set the VTX settings one place, like in the module, and then have every single one of your quads power up with those settings going forward. I'm going to watch the chat now and find out if I'm wrong about that. Brandon RC says I'm right. Daytona FPV says you set up the My VTX settings and turn it on, and it forces it to whatever channel is there. As long as they're using the My VTX settings. I'm not familiar with that. Crossfire My VTX. Here, let's look in the manual. What a concept. I did find a search result for My VTX. Let's search for My VTX. Maybe this is a new thing. With the new My... Oh, okay. Shut up, TBS. God dang it. God dang it. I'm gonna have to write a letter to Trappy apologizing for this one. No, I'm joking. With the new My VTX menu, you can set all your VTXs to the same channel band and output power without accessing all of them. It's useful if you're on a race. If you enable My VTX, all other VTX settings will be overridden temporarily till you enable it again. When did this come out? Techno FPV points out it only works if you have the VTX connected to the RX, not the FC. Yeah, that's true, Techno, but that's also true for Tramp. That's no different. Well, there you go. I did not know that. When did this come out? When did this get added? I'm not familiar with this. Jay Evans says, it's fairly new, I think, but I use it on all my race quads. It's amazing when flying with friends. Alrighty. Well, as usual, TBS was first, and they will now accuse ImmersionRC of copying them and cloning their features. Thank you guys for pointing that out. Can the VTX connect to both flight controller and receiver? No, it can't, Techno. You have to pick one or the other. TrokularC says, JB learned something today. I've never heard that joke before. Let's take a look at this black box log from Ryzix in the Discord server. Ryzix says at the very beginning of the log, the motors spike and stutter in a way as well. Between 007 and 012, the gyro shows very little movement on the pitch where the D-term spikes. Let's see. What axis are we on? Ryzix. What axis, Ryzix? Let's see. Between 07 and... Oh, well, here is clearly what he's talking about. Right here, this flip out is clearly what he's talking about. So what do we want to see? Wow, yeah, the gyro... Let's see here. RC rates, debug mode, gyros. How about set point? RC command doesn't move. Yeah, here we go. Gyro plus PID pitch. Okay, so we're looking at the pitch axis. That's all roll. Where's the which one do I want? Why are we looking at the roll axis? How about this? Gyro plus PID pitch. And we see the D-term freak out there, obviously. Do we have gyro movement? No, not really. A little. No, we have gyro movement. Yeah, so look. I mean, we can see that the gyro movement, the purple line, directly correlates to the D-term movement. We absolutely have gyro movement here. But I do agree that, I mean, that D-term is a pretty big jump, and the motors do freak the F out. Like, look how big that spike is. It's a pretty big spike. And the motors freak out for a minute, which is pretty weird. Can we see, what can we see? RC rate. I don't think we're going to see anything in RC rate. Not RC rate. Can we see RC command? No. Clearly no movement. Well, oh, no, hang on. What happened in RC command? The stick did move. That's the roll. We're looking at pitch. That shouldn't have anything to do with it. I mean, the stick moved. Did it move in response to? Granola, these are the UAV Tech Black Box presets. The roll stick moved. Could that be related? It's freaking out on the pitch axis, so I don't see how the roll stick would cause that. But we do see the stick move. Here's another freak out here. What was going on here? Same thing. Pitch axis freak out. I don't know. That's something. Load up number 4. Okay. Boom. There's number 4. What do you see, UAV Tech? Turn on Expo. Stick tracking. Oh, this must be out of date. Hang on, Mark. Let me download your... Nope, I just clicked to start Premiere by accident. Let's go to www.theuavtech.com And let's make sure we're looking at the latest presets. Let's see. Where are those going to be, Mark? Black box. How about that? UATIC Beta Flight Black Box Explorer 3.5. Hang on. Which am I on the latest version? Where's my version? Down here. 350. Yeah, okay. Save as. Open file. Downloads. Where's the download? Do you have to drag and drop it, Mark? Can you not do an open? Start at JSON. Ah, there we go. That doesn't seem to have worked. That doesn't seem to have worked. Oh, there we go. Where was it? Oh, it's saved on the desktop. That's my bad. How about now? There we go. Stick tracking. That's where I want to be. Okay. Oh, here's our Expo toggle. Expo. Got it. All right. Now what? Gyro plus PID pitch. And now we've got our set point too. So we can see if the set point is moving. Right here. And we can definitely see that the set point did not move. So we've got gyro movement. Yeah, so the gyro's moving. And the PIDs are responding to the gyro movement, which is what you would expect. I don't think, I guess the question might be why the PID movement is so big compared to the gyro movement, but I mean, I guess your D gain is high. But I don't think there's anything mysterious here. Your gyro showed movement and your PIDs responded to it. So Rysix, that's what's happening. I don't feel like we added a lot of insight. I mean, they say that the things you rule out are as valuable as the things you prove. You're just getting this little glitch here. Yikes. You're just getting this little glitch here. Oh, here's the other one. It's the same thing, though. So what do you think? UAV Tech suggests that if you have D-min active, the movement could be triggering the D-gain to increase and making the D-gain go nuts. Rysix, try disabling D-min. If your D-min settings were weird, then that would potentially cause this. Why only on the pitch axis? Maybe the gyro only moves on the pitch axis. It is a pretty big spike. It's pretty weird. I promise for those of you who are bored, we'll move on in a minute. It's a pretty big spike. Like, it's pretty outside what the D term is doing the whole rest of the time. So yeah, you're right that something weird is going on here. Is the gyro movement, here's another question. Is the gyro movement abnormal? Like, yes, it is. Compared to what we see the gyro doing the rest of the time, boom, right here, we get this big bonk in the gyro. And then the D term kind of freaks out and we get some ringing. Can you see the D term kind of oscillating down, probably interacting with the P term? I feel like your quad is overtuned. Rysix says D-min was off. I feel like your quad may be overtuned. Like, let's look at the PIDs. No, right, there we go. Your quad may be overtuned. No, damn, that's nothing crazy. with your PIDs. It feels like the D-gain is not that... I mean, you've got about a 1-to-1 PD ratio. Yeah. All right. Drone got knocked by a bird or large insect. Yeah, what happened? I'd love to see the video, Ryzex, so we could know what happened to the quad at the moment that this happened. We're going to move on right now from this one and try and get a couple more questions before the air in the last half hour of the show. And Ryzex, we can talk about this on the Discord for sure. Black Eye, thank you for a $20 super chat. No question. Did you mean to just leave $20 without a question? Thank you, sir. Puya S. I have a vague feeling that that's a swear word. I have a vague feeling that that's a swear word, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's not. Thank you for a $5 super chat. What's the best high-definition 5-inch bind-and-fly freestyle? Best or best at any price? The one that I would probably steer most people to begin with is the Nazgul, the iFlight Nazgul 5-inch HD. The GEP-RC Mark V is quite good, or Mark IV. The GEP-RC Mark IV HD is quite good. The Diatone Roma F5 HD is quite good. Those aren't the only ones out there, but all three are definitely worth looking at. Recursive FPV, thank you for a $10 super chat. Thanks for everything you do for this community. Thank you, Recursive FPV, for the donation. Zipperlips FPV says, hook up a flight controller and search runaway in the CLI. Are we still doing this, Zipperlips? I know that the time parameter is there. I'm just disagreeing with you about how it works. I think we already talked about that. No, J-Rod's World, that was just a brain fart. There's no GEP-RC. I mean, probably GEP-RC is working on the Mark V, but I don't know anything about it. Anti-Pop FPV says, so I left my LiPos plugged into a balance charger and now the batteries are dead. 0 volts, all cells. Did I leave them plugged in too long? So Anti-Pop, this is the problem with parallel boards. All batteries become one battery. And that means you can charge them all at the same time. Yay, that's wonderful. And it also means if anything bad happens to one of them, it happens to all of them. So you should never leave your batteries plugged into a parallel board longer than necessary. Because the moment when one of them decides to take a dump, it's going to take all the others with them. So as soon as you're done charging, you should unplug them from the parallel board. And then when you come back, for some reason, one of your batteries will be dead, but the others will be fine. So who knows why they all died? I don't know. Could be just bad luck. But the lesson from this is the parallel board means that if one battery charges, all batteries charge. And if one battery dies, all batteries die. So don't leave them plugged into the parallel board any longer than you absolutely need to. I'm so sorry for your loss. The other thing is that if one of them lights on fire and they're all plugged in there in the board, they could all light on fire, and obviously that's going to be worse. Sonic Tonic says the Roma F5 V2 is coming out. That is true. I do not have one for review. I'm sure Diatone will send one. I like the Roma F5, so I feel like they're gonna like sending me the V2. Hopefully they'll put those thicker arms on there. Huascar Hernandez says that your XSR, your XSR receiver is not going into bind mode. Firmware updated. What could be the problem? So you hold down the bind button, and then you power it up. And then you should see the red and the green LED together, lit up. If it won't go into bind mode at all, maybe the bind button's broken. But if you just flashed the firmware Maybe the firmware you flashed is doing something weird. Did you flash the ACCST firmware or the... I think there's access firmware for the... I'm not sure about that. Maybe there isn't. Maybe your bind button's broken. That's what I'm going to go with. New receiver 2. Had another that worked fine. I mean, if it legitimately doesn't go into bind mode, ACCST 2.1 still should go into binding mode, though, right? Like with access receivers, the binding process is different, but it's got to be the bind button, right? That just has to be it. I can't think of anything else that would cause the red and the green LEDs not to light up when you power it on while holding down the bind button. Does the bind button do anything after you power up? I don't think it does. So there's not even really a way to test it. What power supply do you recommend for the Hoda D6 Duo? Good question. Here are the power supplies that I recommend over here on my website, fpvknowitall.com. The ultimate FPV shopping list. I got a section here for chargers. There it is. And I got a section here for power supplies where I suggest some power supplies you could go for. So those are the ones I would point you towards. Short circuits, it sets failsafe in D8 mode, but I'm not sure that D16 receivers, I guess they can still set failsafe with the failsafe button. Does the LED blink, though? Like, can you test that the bind button is working by pushing the bind button after power up? The Hoda D6 doesn't need a power supply. Is that true? The D6 Duo needs a power... depends. There is a DC version of the D6 Duo, and there's an AC/DC version of the D6 Duo. If you have the AC/DC version, you don't need a separate power supply, although you won't get the maximum output power on the built-in power supply. Thanks Anti-Pop FPV for another $5 for always answering. Indeed. Ah, crap. Huascar Hernandez says the LED blinks when he pushes the button. Okay, so the bind button works. Damn it. I was hoping that it wouldn't work and that would be the answer. Like the LEDs, it has to be the firmware then. It has to be the firmware. Something, can you flash the older firmware to it and see if it goes into bind mode? Pacific Northwest Pilot says the Duo implies AC/DC. I don't think that's true. The Hoda D6 Duo is called a Duo because it has 2 channels. Right here, we've got the Hoda D6 Duo DC only version. Oh, it says dual channel. Crap, you might be right. I thought it's a Duo because it has dual channels. It's just the Hoda D6. Well, son of a beast, I think you're right. How about that? I guess it's not a Duo. All right, well, if you've got the regular D6, then it's DC only, and you do need a power supply. If you've got the D6 Duo, then it's both AC and DC, and you don't need a power supply, but you will get increased output power if you use an external DC power supply. Oh, crap, it's out of stock. Oh, man, I gotta update that. Oh, well. So, Ryzix, if that quadcopter is a Nazgul 5 HD, you've got dual gyros on that flight controller, and you may have a bad gyro. So, what you can do is this one's not a dual gyro, but I'll show you anyway. What you can do is, in the flight controller, in Betaflight, is Come on. Come on, baby. Come on. Where's my dang... There we go. Go to the configuration tab. And right here where it says... Is it not going to let me do it? Oh, damn it. It knows I don't have... Oh, yeah, no, right here. Yeah, right here. I got it. Right here where it says gyro/accel. Instead of both... Oh, this is a dual gyro. Well, how about that? Instead of both, change it to first or second. And see if that fixes your problem. And if that doesn't fix your problem, change it to second. If you've got a bad gyro, that will cause the flight controller to stop using the bad gyro. And see if that fixes your problem, Ryzex. Oh, it's a single gyro. Crap. Oh, it's a Nazgul HD frame, but it's not a Nazgul bind and fly. Well, never mind. Well, you still could have a bad gyro, but I'm not really sure what to say past that. Aber the Ham, thanks for a $2 super chat. Parallel boards with LEDs will drain the LiPos to 0 volts. Yeah, Aber, but typically if the parallel board has LEDs, they're only pulling like 1 cell or 2 cell of voltage. So typically it won't drain the whole board to 0 volts. But like I guess if you had an indicator LED for every single cell, then it could drain the whole thing. Have you found a comparable replacement for your JB2407 motors? Asks Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray, the motor that I like right now for Freestyle, that's my current favorite, is the FPV Cycle 5-inch motor. It has a little bit larger stator volume than 2407 and a little bit smaller stator volume than 2208. But the performance of this motor is pretty impressive. I say that I haven't done bench tests on it. I've just flown it. And I mean, I feel like with a lot of motors, the fact that I notice a difference at all is kind of saying something. I mean, obviously, if you go from like a 2206 to a 2407, that's like a massively bigger motor. You're going to clearly notice a difference. But I feel like the FPV Cycle 5-inch is pretty special for Freestyle. In its low throttle control. But they're out of stock like everything. So I think Bob actually has stock of the 5-inch motors, but he's waiting on replacement bells because the bells that were on them, the manufacturers use thinner magnets and it causes them to desync. So he's waiting to get replacement bells so he can get those sent out. But that's the answer. There's a lot of great motors out there. Not everybody wants a motor that size. Some people like 2306. Some people like 2208. Whatever. But if you want a motor that has pretty unique flight characteristics, I think the FPV Cycle 5-inch is the one. Let's see here. Yeah, Bob has the 4... You can find the 4S Emerald motors, but the 6S motors are all out of stock. Nuovo, thank you for €2. I have two 400-watt PSUs. Can I parallel them? Probably not. If you parallel power supplies and they don't have exactly the same voltage... If they don't have some way to equalize the voltage between them, then one will push current into the other and it could damage it. So you don't want to parallel power supplies to increase outputs. It's not a good idea. See you later, UAV Tech. Thank you for coming out. Have I flown the Babyhawk 2 HD? Asks Stephen Murray. I have not. Brandon RC says he parallels server PSUs. Well, I guess, you're getting away with it, but I'm not sure. He has one floating DC ground. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Don't parallel mains-driven power supplies. Not a good idea at all. Yeah, you have to find a way. You have to find a way to prevent current from flowing from one to the other if one has a higher voltage than the other, so they only push current into the load. There are ways to do that, but if you simply wire them in parallel, bad things are going to happen. Brandon RC, sounds like you're putting them in series, not parallel, to get 24 volts with a floating ground. Like I say, diodes, yeah, it can be done, but don't do it without protection. Glyrendin says, I'm wiring up an octo, and I wanted to know if I can wire both current sensors from the two ESCs to the current pad, and that will give me accurate current readings. No, I don't think so. Glyrendin, those current sensors are outputting a 0 to 3.3 volt signal, and if one's outputting like 1 volt and one's outputting 2 volts, one will push current into the other, and that is probably not good, because that's good. I mean, that's going to burn out the pin, the ADC pin on the processor. So don't do that. That's not going to work. If you have an octo and you need current sensing, you probably need a dedicated current sensor on the main battery plug. Or you need an ESC with current sensing in ESC telemetry. But there aren't a lot of those out there that do that anymore. CJ Fowler says you'd need an analog summing circuit. Yeah. But even then, it would add up to 6 volts, 6.6 volts. So then you'd need to cut that in half. And then so you could do that with a voltage divider. And then you need to change the current scale. So that would work. Build a summing circuit and then a voltage divider to cut it in half. And then, yeah, that would work. Any update on when the JB Edition QAVS frame is coming out? Asks Scree FPV. So I've been working with Lumineer to update the QAVS frame in a few small ways to my special needs. Mostly because I'm a prima donna and I just want things how I want them. And if the way to do that is to make a custom version of a frame, then so be it. A couple weeks ago, we announced that they have been sent to the factory for manufacturing, and it would be about several weeks until they came back overseas. There's no specific date when they will go on sale. On a totally unrelated note, I am doing a custom FPV crate as well. So I'm working with FPV Crate to do the May 2021 box. Is going to be a 5-inch box. No, go back. Hey, I'm talking about me here. It's going to be a 5-inch box with JB related things in it. But I couldn't tell you when the JB Edition QAVS frame was going to release. Or when it'd be available for sale. But I will be doing a subscription box here with FPV Crate in May. So, if you're interested in that, then you could sign up for that. I wonder what's going to be in the box. There will be a custom sticker sheet, Mike Bergman. I'm not going to reveal what's in the box because the surprise of the box is half the fun. But there will be a custom JB sticker sheet. I'm not going to reveal what the sticker sheet will have on it. You'll have to put your own hole in the box, Kyle. Granola FPV says if your power supply was 200 watts, you could charge about 6 packs simultaneously. Monty Peak wants to know if you can buy the box without subscribing. You could obviously subscribe and then just unsubscribe the next month or something. I'm not sure exactly how it works. You have to check with FPV Crate on that. Let's do the math on this and see if this math is correct. So 200 watts. Watts divided by volts equals amps. Watts divided by amps equals volts. So let's say 200 watts divided by about 25 volts for a 6S battery gives us 8 amps to play with, approximately. We keep a little overhead there because there's always efficiency losses when changing voltages. So maybe we would do better to start with 180 watts instead of 200 watts, but whatever. About 8 amps to work with. Now let's say we've got a 1100 milliamp hour pack and we're charging it 1C. So we divide by 1.1 and we get about 7 batteries. 200 watt power supply, you could charge about 7 6S packs at 1C. Bubby, the JB Luminaire motors are not made anymore. It started, I'll tell you the truth. The first pebble in the avalanche that ended up with it not being made was that when they manufactured the first batch of my motors, they sent them out to get the bells electroplated. And it was this beautiful purple. I said, oh, I like this purple color. And they said, yeah, let's do it. We found this guy who can do it. We found this factory. They're doing the electroplating for us. It's beautiful. It was a gorgeous color. They were like, don't worry, it's expensive, but it's worth it. I loved it. And when it came time to make another batch of the motors, they came back and said, well, the place that we were doing it, it's pretty expensive. It's going to cost us like a bunch of money just to make the bath. And then we have to order so many motors in order to make that pay off. And there was a lot of, we're going to see if we can find someplace else that'll do it for cheaper. Or maybe we could do, and I was like, well, maybe we could just do a different color motor. But I didn't feel great about it because like I really, you're just making compromises. And I looked, I'm going to tell you the God's honest truth. I looked at a whole bunch of other motors that were out there. And there's motors out there like the FPV Cycle 5-inch motor, which packs just this weirdly amazing performance into this weirdly light weight. And there's motors out there like the Emax Eco, which are not premium motors by any stretch of the imagination, but they're stupidly good motors for $12. And there's motors out there like iFlight motors, which are like look at the specs of an iFlight motor and compare it to a $27 motor from someone else. It's 7075 aluminum, titanium shaft, NSK bearing, single piece bell, an iFlight motor that they're selling for $20. It's as good as a $26, $27 motor anywhere else. And so all of these things together, I was like, you know what? I don't think we're going to make another batch of these motors. Because mine was like a $26, $27 motor. And I know what you're thinking, that like $7 of that was going into my pocket. I can assure you that's not true. Just motors cost what they cost, and you sell them for what they're selling for. But I just didn't feel great. I didn't feel like that motor was as competitive with the other things that are out there. I didn't feel that, like when I first made it, I wanted a 2407 motor because I had flown the EFAW 2407 motor and loved it, but the EFAW went out of business before I could. So I was like, hey, Luminaire, you want to make me a 2407 motor? And then I thought, well, maybe I'll try a 2208 as well. I was going with these big stator motors. Now there's just gobloads of motors in all different sizes, and I just didn't feel like the compelling reason for me to make that motor existed anymore. And other people were doing it better for a lower price. So let them. Just spitting all over my computer. Pacific Northwest pilots, the new single piece top plate will work with the previous frame, as far as I know. I'm pretty sure it will. Yeah, the Zing E motors, 2207, 2750 kV, single piece bell and a titanium shaft for $16. Like, I don't know how they're doing that. But I just found it hard to argue. I mean, people like me and they want to buy my motors. So, and I like the color. They were good looking motors. I mean, I'd pay $3 extra for that color scheme. Am I right? But, I just didn't feel like it was as compelling a choice. And I found myself going, hey, that motor looks really good. Hey, that motor looks really good. And kind of wanting to use other motors. And to their credit, Lumineer said, there's something you want in a motor, we'll make you one. To their credit, they did. But I've never wanted to be in a position where I'm making a product just for the sake of making it. If FPV Cycle makes an amazing motor, or Zing, iFlight or T-Motor, or whoever makes an amazing motor that fits my needs, I would rather just buy that motor. That way, when something goes wrong with it, nobody's blowing up my inbox. I'd just rather use a product that's already out there. I don't want to just make my own version of a product that already exists, slap my name on it, put a different color on it, and I pretty much just described exactly what happened with the GemFan 51477 prop. Okay, one time I did that. I did, in fact, really like the GemFan 51477 prop, and I really wanted to be able to have yellow and purple props in my colors. So I said to GemFan, I really like this prop. If I do a signature edition with you, will you make it in yellow and purple so I can fly yellow and purple props? Okay, one time I did that. Every other product I've put my name on, it has been that I've looked at what's out there and gone, you know, that's cool, but there's this thing I want that I'm not getting, and so I'm going to make my own product. And that just wasn't true anymore with my motors. And that was the bottom line for why I didn't decide to push to make another batch of those motors or of a different motor. Anyway, the RunCam Phoenix, Ryan, the RunCam Phoenix, I wanted a custom tune on it. I changed the settings to the RunCam Phoenix. And the JB version of the RunCam Phoenix has digital camera control. It's switchable digital camera control, whereas the standard RunCam Phoenix doesn't have digital camera control. Again, it's a small thing, but it's a thing. The original RunCam Phoenix doesn't have digital camera control. It only has analog. So I said to RunCam, I like the RunCam Phoenix. I want digital camera control on it, and I want to do a custom tune. If it was just a custom tune, I probably would have just published the tune and said, forget it. But, yeah. Metal Dirt Skin says it's not true that the Zing E is a one-piece bell and titanium shaft. I've seen some people posting pictures of Zing E and saying they are one-piece bells. I can't vouch for the titanium shaft. Pret Candidici says, I use 1407 3600 kV. Can I use them on a 6S squirt with motor output scaling? 1407? That's an okay Cinewhoop motor. 3600 kV is too high. I mean, you can try using motor output scaling. You could try it. The good news is that Cinewhoops don't change motor speed like aggressively. So you better luck getting away with it. Oh, wow. I was ranting so much. I'm not really ranting, but I was ranting so much that I lost track of time, and the live stream is nearly over. How about that? We got no more super chats. They're all caught up. And, yeah, we're caught up. We're coming to the end. Siati says motor limiting works very well all the way down to 70%. We're going to wrap up the stream. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I hope you've enjoyed it. Aaron Ciati is going to be streaming over on his channel, and he can start posting that link He could have started posting that link 15 minutes ago if he wanted to, but he was probably waiting for me to say it. So if you guys want to keep watching someone stream, go ahead on over to Ciati's channel. There he's doing his Monday giveaway Q&A. Almost $1,000 in builds. Wow. And I will be back at 6 p.m. tomorrow, as well as another video we'll post tomorrow. But we'll be back with the FPV news with JB and It's Blunty. All the news, all the FPV related news. Richard, I can't have sent my frame to Chris Rosser for resonance analysis because I don't have it yet. I mean, I do have one prototype, but definitely will be sending it. Oh, we just got to send the CAD files. So we don't need the actual frame. What am I talking about? We should do that right now. Ryan Harrell, send Chris Rosser our CAD files, please. Yeah, let's do it. That would be great. We'll probably wait till you can actually buy the frame before we send the CAD files because we don't really need the promotion right now. But definitely would intend to do that. That's going to do it, guys. I am out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Check out yesterday's live stream as well. It was amazing if you want to learn about motors. But that's going to do it. Y'all have a good night. Ciati, have a great stream. See you tomorrow at 6 p.m. for the news. Bye, everybody.